Hey, this is Ryan Callaghan with First Lite. Welcome to another edition or episode of folks stopping by the First Lite office. Again, we're going to try to keep this thing rolling about every 2 weeks. Hopefully have a new episode. This week, we had a bunch of dirty yahoos pile out of the woods right next to the office, led by Steve Speck at Exo Mountain Gear, who's with me here on the end. And Paul Peterson with First Lite joined him in the woods, and we're going to catch up on the Exo Death Hike. Lots of questions. So, Steve, you want to just kind of start off with, how you came up? Like, what is the Death Hike?
Right. Yes, this was year 4 of the Death Hike. It just started out as like a way to challenge ourselves. I mean, we'd heard, Lenny is the co-owner with Exo with me, and we'd heard about some dudes doing this crazy hike through the woods with point A, point B stuff and meet at the end, and we're like, man, we'd love to do that. Let's make our own death hike. So that was 4 years ago, and it's just like my wife asked me like, well, why are you doing this? And I'm like, I don't know. Why do you run? Why do you do anything? Right? It's just fun to challenge yourself and push and have something to train for, and the camaraderie, hanging out with 31 awesome dudes the last 3 days. I don't know. There's so many great reasons too, and I can't really think of any not to do something. Where you really push yourself.
Paul, this is your first year doing the Death Hike. Are you agreeing with what Steve's saying right now, or you're just kind of like...
Oh, yeah, no, fully agree. I mean, I signed on 5 days ago. Wasn't aware that I was
Which was
going to be...
impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I was just stoked to get the invite. Like you said, a bunch of awesome dudes. Great way to meet like-minded folks and do some suffering in the hills for a few days. I think it's good to do these things, challenge yourself in the off-season, find yourself down the road, and, less than desirable situations, you have this to fall back on and know you can just kind of keep going.
The 31 guys this year, how have the numbers changed over the years?
It started out with, I think I only conned like 7 guys in the first year, and then it's really the 7, 13, 23, and now 31, which we jumped from like, the tradition had been 40, 50 mile hikes, and we jumped up to 100 this year, so I thought we were going to go backwards, but somehow you bumped it up, and more people were like, yeah, I'm in, let's do this. I was like, all right, here we
nice.
Go.
Yeah, so that's where it started, but drastically different elevation gains, right? Or changes in elevation. Like, how have your 40 or 50 mile hike the first year, to this 100 mile hike this year? Were you going longer distance, less in elevation, or how are you evening
my
things
goal is
out?
always I got to find a good route that makes sense logistically, and I don't want to pack as much elevation in there as possible. So they've all been, the first one was 37 miles and 15,000 feet or something. There's a lot in that one. And so this one, I think the GPS, recording is really hard because everyone's GPS is something different, but we came up at 92.5 miles and 21,000, just shy of 21,000 feet. Yeah, I'm climbing.
Wow. And that's just kind of averaging all the recording apparatus you guys can pack.
Yeah. Everyone's watches or running Strava, running tracking on the inReach, kind of average it out. Yep.
And Death Hike, was that just kind of a default working name?
Yeah. Just, I don't know, sounded cool, I guess. It wasn't
sounded very welcoming.
Yeah, it wasn't much thought put into that other than, that sounds like a good name. Yeah.
All right. And then, so I guess my question here is like, there's a huge component to, or, pushing yourself, mentally, it's a heck of a strain. Right. And then, so as far as like training goes, do you actually see this as like, tying into your hunting season at all?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, for me, I think just having something to train for just gets me up off the couch, in May, June, stuff like that. And so it's like Paul said, you got a hike or you got a hunt coming up where it's 10 miles deep. I got that. That's easy. It's just like practicing 100 yards with your bow, and you only got to shoot 50. It just ups your confidence, your mental toughness, all that stuff.
Yeah. Like, obviously the physical side, but I think the mental side is paramount. That much more important. Having that experience to lean back on, just knowing you can keep going.
Are you analyzing like your pack a lot? Like, to me, there's just a lot of differences. Like, from the outside looking in, I'm not looking at your guys' hike and looking at my hunting stuff in the garage and being like, this is for that.
Right.
But where do things overlap, and does everything overlap? Or?
This year was interesting just because of the duration and the miles. You really, I think I learned a lot about nutrition. In years past, we just kind of like, let's hike as fast as we can and just kind of knock this thing out. And this was more of like, okay, this is a marathon. You got to keep your body going for 3 days. So taking care of yourself was really, really critical. We had basically stuck to the schedule of hike 6 miles, basically averaging 3 miles an hour. So we'd hike for 2 hours, rest for half an hour. Every time we'd stop, pull off your socks, put on a fresh pair, let your feet air out, throw our wet socks on the pack, let them dry out. Take care of yourself nutritionally. Like the last day, we kind of just like, we're getting out of here, and just fell apart fast because you stop eating, you stop taking your sodium tablets, all that stuff. So I think if you've got a 7-day hunt, I think there's a lot learned here on how to maintain that, how to keep your energy levels high the whole time. And it was very informational for me. I know we talked to this nutritionist, and it was about like planning for the next few hours, right? So like, okay, we got a big hike coming up. I better eat some like simple sugars and carbs right now so I have energy for that. And when we got to the top of the hike, or the top of the peak, and we're coming down, that's the time to eat your protein bar, so you can kind of digest that slowly. And that's something I've never even thought about when I was hunting, right? I just kind of ate whatever sounded good. But there was definitely a good way to do it, a right way. And for everyone, it's a little different. They digest stuff differently, but that was a big part of it.
Yeah. No, that's huge. I mean, I pay so little attention to,
Right.
like, yes, that looks like it should sustain me.
Right.
And if things go sideways, I have a little bit extra.
Yeah.
That's how I still look at everything. But and every time I go in the woods, I'm like, boy, it'd be nice to actually dial that in a little bit better.
Right. Yeah, so I have like some energy and focus wilderness athlete product, like I throw that in a bottle, and so if we know how to have that, and just kind of sip on it as we're working our way up. It was really just maintaining yourself was a big aspect of it.
A lot
Did
of
you hit any
talk
speed
about
bumps there, Paul?
speed bumps.
As far as like, this is your first run out of the gate. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
food side had to be huge.
yeah, I mean, I think I had the nutrition pretty dialed in. Steve sent everybody a kind of a nutritional fact sheet that was pretty well lined out with what your needs were going to be for each day. So,
But 31 dudes in the woods, it's like probably 31 guys that don't exactly like look at the instructions with the IKEA stuff
Right.
that shows up.
Yeah.
I had to send out emails like, must read.
Yeah.
Like,
One thing,
'cause I know
yeah.
half the guys still didn't read it.
One thing consistent with everybody was just the junk food. I mean, you're just going so hard. Gummy bears, candy, Oreos. I think guys maybe overlook those
Yeah.
simple sugars that you need when you're really exerting yourself, and having those things on hand really just kind of keep you level. And
Yeah, so again, like difference between packing for, just a couple nights in the woods, nutrition-wise. Like, I'm assuming you guys are kind of skipping the bigger meals on this and just going for like more consistent protein.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody packed, well, maybe one guy packed a stove, but in general, nobody's packing stoves, no mountain house dehydrated meals, just lots and lots of bars, which get really hard to eat after day 2 and it's hot, and you're kind of looking at that in your pack going, oh man, I gotta choke that down. But yeah, I think just it was a good mix of the simple sugars, carbs you can digest, and gummy bears was a favorite on the trail.
yeah.
Jake, he had piles of just candy, every Snickers bars and stuff just pulled out of his pack left and right, Jolly Ranchers. But it was that kind of stuff I think guys overlook, just to kind of maintain yourself through that whole duration.
There's some parallels there, I think. I mean, you still got to cover your bases, your meals. You got to be filled up with protein and carbs to start in the morning and throughout the day. But I think having that added sugar and salt and electrolytes to push through when you're really pushing it all day long, which many times you are on a hunt, I think there's a lot of parallels you can draw in that way. Yeah.
So you're feeling just more comfortable even though you're like living on high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
You're burning it.
Yeah, you're burning it. You're just
Yeah.
burning it so fast. I mean, I think that we're burning 10,000-ish calories a day, and everyone packed about 4,500 to 5, and most guys ate all their food every single day, just trying to maintain.
Yeah. And then, so like feet wise, right? Like,
Yeah, that's the big one.
yeah, that's a lot of pounding on the feet.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, you know, there's no perfect footwear. There's not one footwear you can say works for everybody, because we had a lot of guys running the Ultras.
Yep. Solomons.
Ultras, Solomons, and then a few, probably 5 guys running like a boot. And I think there wasn't any consistency across there. Some guys were running Ultras and had issues. Other guys were perfect, and some guys were running boots and didn't have a single issue. But we had some, yeah, we got some great photos and some great stories, I guess, on the amount of blisters and lost toenails, and it was you got to take care of your feet. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
the moleskin came in handy, big time.
So, where you guys, I imagine, it's been a long time since we've talked about this, but I imagine there's a pretty good bell curve in there, right? Like, guys that aren't, that just bit off more than they can chew, and they
Right.
peel fairly early.
Right.
And then you got the middle of the curve that grinds it out, and then you got some guys in the front that just smoke it, and
Yeah.
they're like no big deal.
Yep.
And you know, so where do you see any consistencies on the folks that peel out early, and consistencies in the middle of the curve, and consistencies at in the front pack?
You know, not really. I think it's there's so much different. There's a couple guys that bailed on day one that run, you know, a lot, right? Like do 25-mile runs, and that's not an issue. And then they hit this, and you hike 35, 36 miles on the first day, and they're done. And tendons getting tight, knee
Having that weight on your
issues.
back,
Yeah.
that extra
Just
stress.
that consistent, just kind of pounding, because we basically hiked from 6:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night, 3 days in a row.
Oh, it was
Relative.
10:30 the first night.
Yeah, it
Like,
was.
past 10 the second.
Just a lot of pounding on your body. So it's a tough. I don't know. I think it's all about just maintaining. A lot of, you know, we're using trekking poles. Some guys even pack like little roller, just balls to roll out their IT bands, roll out their hamstrings. It's just maintaining yourself, because if you let something slip, so your hamstring gets tight and you don't stop and take care of it, all of a sudden that just kind of compounds on itself and gets worse, and then into day one you're out on the hike and you can't go any further. So like I said, there's the parallel.
And that's got to be really hard for people who don't do that, because
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
my crew, it's like, yes, I am miserable.
Right.
Just keep going.
Right. Yeah.
I think because if you don't, you're going to get made fun of, right? So yeah, I mean, that's got to be a huge hurdle for most folks to like come out and be like, oh no, I need to actually pay more attention to my personal needs than I normally would.
Right. Yeah. And that's what years past. It's always been a shorter duration, but doing 3 full days this year, like if you didn't pay attention day 1 and day 2, you didn't make it to the end, or you did and you're gonna suffer for a while.
Yep.
All right, so 100 miles, 21,000 elevation gain.
Yep.
Is that gain or just difference in elevation?
Gain.
Gain.
Yeah.
Like notable highs and lows for the group or yourselves?
I think everyone at some point has an extreme low, and then, yeah, like I remember we summited a peak yesterday, and one of the guys was like, "Hell yeah, this is awesome! I'm loving this." And then, 5 miles later, the sun's just beating down on you, and you're just like 1 foot in front of another, like, "Oh, what am I doing here?"
Peaks and valleys.
Yeah, there's plenty of them. The first 20 miles was the worst for me. Like my blood sugar was just all over the place. I was dizzy the whole time and couldn't get kind of into a groove. And then once I settled in, I was good. I know a couple guys.
What do you think made you hit that settle in point though?
I don't know, just your body adjusting to it. I don't know. The human body's crazy. It's like one of the guys, Tyler Okamura, I mean, day 2 was miserable for him. He didn't think he was going to continue. Day 3, he cruised, and like by the end of the day, he's like, I can keep going. Which is just, you'd think your body would just be this progressive decline, right? Like it doesn't have time to repair. There's no rest. It should just get worse and worse and worse. But somehow your body recovers and you're better on day 3 than 2.
It's so mental, too.
Yeah.
I mean, highs and lows for me, day 1, low point was probably the end of the day. Come in, knees locking up. Go to break my bag out, and I probably hadn't eaten as much as I should have second half of the day, and I start breaking things down and just start jackhammering. Just hammer down some food and water, crawl in the warm bag, good to go.
And that's what you refer to as jackhammering.
Well, like shivering. Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
jackhammering, like cold,
Okay.
nutrient deficient, just messed up.
I think almost every guy had that at some point. We got to camp and you're just like, your body's just hemorrhaging. I don't know what's going on there, but
you rest, get food in you, but to Steve's point, your body recovers mentally, you go to a different place. Mile 70, that's better somehow than mile 25. Like mile 70 for me, definitely a high point of the trip. We're coming down, doing this creek crossing, take your boots off, socks off, walk across. And 2 guys are in the creek and we're going through and these 2 fighter jets just buzz us and tip their wings in the canyon. Just awe-inspiring. So that happens. We start hoofing it up this trail, our last big climb.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just thinking, man, this is so cool. Like that just happened. That was awesome. We're on public land, a bunch of good dudes, and just feeling great. And I had Amarillo by Morning by George Strait stuck in my head the entire trip. And at this point, I'm hiking in just my boxers, which was incredibly liberating.
Yeah.
And I just brought it to the group. I could not remember the first 2 lines of the second verse, so I just asked the group. And Anthony, one of the guys, is like, I don't know, but I'll tell you in a minute, and breaks out his phone and starts playing the song. And we all start singing. We're at mile 70 plus, just hammering up this hill, just having a great time, no pain. And just goes to show it's mental. I think it's very mental.
Yeah, that makes sense. So sounds like the music was a bit of a boost. Any like kind of make or break pieces of gear? Where you're like,
I don't know.
Because I mean, it sounds so skewed towards, like it doesn't. Obviously, it matters, right? But you have 31 people that are invariably going to be in very, very different stages of physical conditioning. So it sounds like what is really rising to the top here is just where you can be mentally and how you can, really adjust through many, many highs and lows. Right, and lots of different conditions from shivering cold to beating it on the trail under the sun, and so like, is there then like, oh my God, if I didn't have this,
it's like
it would have pushed me over the top.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, it's getting your body the fuel that it needs and taking care of your feet. Those are like the 2 things that, as far as like gear and equipment, and I mean that's it, right?
Packs too. I mean, a pack that fits you, a high quality pack that's gonna ride.
Well, I have super bony hips and I get saddle sores all the time.
Right.
But if you do 100 miles straight, those sores then get a heck of a lot more contact, a lot more friction.
Yep. No, it's a good testing ground for us for sure. You got to wear a pack for all day, 3 days in a row. It's you're gonna find any flaws if there is one.
Yeah. And then being liberated in your boxers, so is that going to be more of a consistent thing for you, Paul?
That was the other one.
I did it on day 2, and it was incredible.
Tyler started the trend.
Of course, my underwear were like blue and gray striped, and so it was a little. Everyone else just had like brown boxers on. It was a little interesting.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Fresh new experience.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. And then, so. Where would you put something like this, like the death hike? Like I said, it's a very like ominous name, right? Not the most inviting thing, but where would you lay this out for, just anybody listening, anybody who's interested in hunting? Like, how would you incorporate something like this into getting prepared for the season? Like, where does it lie?
I think so much of it's just in mental toughness. I mean, we keep referring to that, but it truly is. I mean, just kind of setting a bar for yourself that's really, really high. A lot, like the first year of the death hike, we didn't know what we were capable of, right? Like I had never hiked continuously for that long. I mean, any hunting, maybe you go 10 miles deep in an extreme example here in the lower 48, right? And then you hunt and you're just kind of moving a mile glassing. But to actually just 1 foot in front of another for 3 days straight, covering 100 miles, it just builds you up to where when you go back to hunting and you got 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, how many miles to go, it's just that much easier. Just that,
Having to get over that mental hurdle, I think, is a huge benefit. But even if you're not doing a death hike, I think anybody that could do something pre-season before you're out and back there just to run your gear, see how you perform on different food, just do something to push yourself. It doesn't have to be 100 miles, even if it's just a weekend backpacking trip. Just doing it before your hunt, so you're dialed in, so you're familiar with your food, your nutrition, your gear.
Because we talk all the time, right? It's like if you are a mountain biker and all you do is hike, you're going to be in a decent place to start mountain biking, but you're not going to be in mountain biking shape. Yeah. And if you're a hiker and you've just been mountain biking, or so really you gotta at least at some point you got to put all your stuff on for what you're going to be doing and get some time actually doing that activity to say, like, yes, I am prepared to do this activity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So, your analogy, right? Like would be like the physical example of shooting 100 yards even though you're only going to be shooting 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, just thinking about it, one of those instances and one of the things that I really like about going to 3D shoots, particularly some of the courses that you guys set up, like the Pure Elevation course. I think that's a phenomenal dip your toe in experience. And I've bumped into some folks that have come from like the East Coast. Like, yeah, I had this shoot popped up, got a cheap flight, gonna come out, and they run that Pure Elevation course. They get some like real shooting scenarios, some severe angle shooting. And it's great, and it's exercise too.
Oh yeah, that's the whole point of that course is to push you. You got to climb up something, get your heart rate going, and then you got a 70-yard shot at a 30-degree angle, and I think it's amazing how many people, they're groups. Maybe they're really good tournament shooters that could shoot tight groups, and all of a sudden they open up and they're shooting fives and missing the target, and that's but that's the real world out there when you're hunting, right? So you got to be able to get your nerves calmed down and get your breath and make a good shot.
Yes.
Yeah. A great way for guys from the East who are, maybe curious about doing a Western hunt, but don't have a lot of experience, that want to come see the West. You can take the family, see a mountain, and kind of get a feel for what it's like to put yourself in the hills and have to make a shot. I think it's a great dip your toes in the water kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last one is Stevens Pass.
Yep.
Close to the end of the month. Weekend of the 21st, I believe.
Yep, Stevens Pass.
So that'd be something to look forward to, and definitely an area that you can kind of push yourself in. You got some good elevation gains, and again, like very real world Western shooting scenarios. But that'd be something on the smaller scale that you can work up to, and hopefully get a good hike in with your actual hunting equipment. And that's one thing that I appreciate when I go to their shoots is the folks that have their bino harnesses on, their actual hunting pack. I feel like those folks are getting a lot more out of that scenario, that experience, than somebody like me who just shows up in their flip-flops and t-shirt, right? So
yeah.
Thank you guys very much. Paul?
Yeah.
Big takeaway? Are we fist bumping? What was your big takeaway from the weekend?
My big takeaway, I went in with minimal training, knowing I didn't have as good an overnight gear as most of the crew, but I wasn't going to let that keep me off the mountain. It's something I wanted to do. I think that goes for a lot of guys. You can't think you're undergunned all the time just because you don't have the latest and greatest. You got to get out there and experience it, and you're going to learn a lot in a short amount of time, depending on the conditions you go through, the scenario you expose yourself to or are exposed to. But at the end of the day, you just got to get out there and do it and stay positive and have a blast.
Like it. Yeah. Steve, already working on the next one?
Yeah, we were brainstorming ideas halfway through the thing, trying to what are we going to do next year? I was trying to poll everybody and get their opinions on it. So we'll have another one, try to make it an annual event.
Major takeaway from this year?
It said years past, it was like how fast and how much country, or how much country can we cover in the fastest amount of time. And this year was like, okay, this is 3 days, it's 100 miles, it's 20,000 feet of elevation gain. You can't, I don't care how good a shape you are, you can't just pound through this. Like you got to take care of yourself, you got to listen to your body, you got to take care of your feet, you got to take care of yourself nutritionally. And I think all that is stuff that it was a 5-day hunt, expanded to where like you know, on my next hunt I go to, I'm going to take all this information and apply it for sure. So it's a quick weekend hunt. You can kind of get away with eating a bunch of crap and not taking care of yourself, and you go home on Sunday night and you're kind of sore and big deal. But if you've got a big hunt coming up and you're going to spend 7 days away from the truck, I definitely learned a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so as per usual, if you guys have questions, you know, leave them on the YouTube page. We'll also do some Instagram posts related to this, and we'll try to get those questions answered. We'll definitely be leaning on Steve and Paul here. We're the boots on the ground. And if you can, check out that Stevens Pass shoot. And yeah, anything in the future that you want to see on folks stopping by the First Lite office, definitely let us know. Info at First Lite, any of our social media channels. And we want to get you guys prepped and ready for the upcoming season. And also, you know, keep you thinking about all this fun and important stuff that you could be doing. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah.